Hello, everybody. Wolfang here. Today is Thursday, October the 10th. Beautiful sunny skies, no clouds here in Cincinnati, Ohio. And we are currently sitting at 69 degrees. So, uh, the hurricane that hit Florida last night, I think there was more damage done by tornadoes. They just said on the news, what they say, 48? There was like 48 confirmed tornadoes. That's crazy. Talk about weather manipulation. Yeah, I went there. Um, so that's what my article is going to be about. Uh, I've chatted with a few people. Uh, as a matter of fact, there was a guy at work today while we're standing in line to clock out. Uh, he was listening to something on his phone, and I heard uh, controlling the weather kind of thing. And I was surprised that this person was listening to it. And he made his little snide, oh, blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, you can't prove that they can't do it. And his remark was, well, you can't prove they can. So I'm looking into it. If I can control the weather, um, if we can, before I go any further, so we have all this uh, disaster from two hurricanes, millions of people displaced, lost homes, lost lives, and weather manipulation has been thrown out there. So if it can happen, uh, Congress is on vacation if nobody knew that. And we have all this shit going on. Congress does not need to be on vacation. So if you can manipulate the weather, how about doing it over those some bitches' houses, make them displaced, and see how quick they get the ball rolling? That's all I'm going to say. So anyway, I found an article I'm going to share, and they started playing around with the weather back in 1946. You can look it up. I'm going to share something. Says with Operation Popeye, the U.S. government made weather an instrument of war. As geoengineering projects soar, the declassified project is newly relevant. Let me see if I can get this set up right so I can read it. It was a seasonably chilly afternoon in 1974 when Senators Claiborne Pell, a Democrat from Rhode Island, and Clifford Case, a Republican from New Jersey, strode into the chambers of the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations for a classified briefing. While the meeting was labeled a top secret, the topic at hand was rather mundane. They were there to discuss the weather. More specifically, Pell, the chairman of the now defunct Subcommittee for Oceans and International Environment, and his colleague were about to learn the true extent of a secret 5-year-old cloud seeding operation meant to lengthen the monsoon season in Vietnam, destabilizing to destabilize the enemy and allow the United States to win the war. Though it cycled through several names in its history, Operation Popeye stuck. stated objective to ensure Americans won the Vietnam War was never realized. But the revelation that the U.S. government played God with weather altering warfare changed history. The Nixon administration distracted, denied, and it seems outright lied to Congress. But enterprising reporters published damning stories about rain being used as a weapon, and the Pentagon Papers dripped classified details like artificial rain. Eventually, the federal government would declassify its Popeye documents and international laws amid at preventing a similar projects would be on the books. But the public would more or less forget it ever happened. Given the rise of geoengineering projects, both from municipal governments and private companies, some experts believe Popeye is newly relevant. Most travel agents would recommend planning your visit to Vietnam roughly between the months of November and April. Prices tend to jump during the so-called high season, but it's only surefire way to avoid the rain. And boy, is there rain. Between roughly May and October, the mercury rises to 90 degrees and humidity can hit 90%. Heavy with water and churned by reversing monsoon winds, the northern metropolis of Hanoi typically receives 8.2 inches of rain in July alone, while Ho Chi Minh City in the south, where the monsoon hits a little later, racks up an average of 11 inches each September. For comparison, the southwestern state of Arizona typically gets 8.04 inches of rain in a year. Back in the 1960s, however, Vietnam's rainfall patterns weren't a concern of American tourists so much as the American military, when I'll spit it out. Preliminary test of Operation Popeye began in October 1966 under President Lyndon B. Johnson. The Vietnam War had been underway for over a decade, though still a decade away from its sober conclusion, and more than 8,000 Americans had already died. With traditional methods failing, the U.S. government decided to look to the skies. The close monitoring of troop and truck traffic along routes where rain had fallen verified beyond any doubt the natural adverse effects of rainfall and accumulated soil moisture on the enemy's logistic effort. Lieutenant Colonel Ed Soyster told Senator Pell and Case, according to the declassified notes from the 1974 meeting. Operation Popeye, he continued, intended to further ruin roads, jam rivers, and extend the amount of time swaths of Vietnam weren't traversable. And there's a diagram. Cloud seeding is a method for artificially stimulating precipitation like rain or snow. The practice is thought to have originated in 1946. While experimenting with dry ice, Vincent Schaefer, a self-taught chemist employed by General Electric, made a big discovery. He noticed that cloud condensation nuclei, the tiny particles around which water condensates, could be artificially produced to create rain and snow. Schaefer put his discovery to the test by seeding the clouds over the Berkshire Mountains in Massachusetts and successfully created precipitation. He was hailed as the first person to actually do something about the weather and not just talk about it. Of course, Schaefer's discovery was not met with enthusiasm alone. While some dreamed of ending drought, or as the Times drolly notes, ensuring white Christmas until the end of time, others worried that rain would be stolen as scientists pulled precipitation out of the clouds in some places and not others. At first, no one seemed to consider the wartime applications of cloud seeding, but on March the 20th, 1967, the operational phase of Popeye began. Pilots and their crew would soar over select regions of Vietnam with a canister of silver or lead iodide, which were by the 1960s considered two of the primary sources of water condensation nuclei. The plane crew would ignite the canisters and release particle rich smoke into the existing storm. If all went well, the jolt of artificial nuclei would reverberate through the system, forcibly spurring additional precipitation. Despite 80 years of cloud seeding efforts, rigorous research amid at proving or disproving its efficiency is still underway. During their top secret briefing on Popeye, Senators Pell and Case were told that the U.S. taxpayers paid, without their knowledge, some $3.6 million a year for such operations over Vietnam, or about $23 million a year in today's dollars. Popeye's success was certainly limited and also fundamentally unverifiable. So that is the beginning of making storms. They said it right there. And there's a lot more going on with it now. I mean, if they started this back in 1946 and we're in 2024, you know they've come a long way. Like I said, I was on the fence about weather manipulation, but I'm starting to think that they can do it. And my point is, if they can do it, why don't they just make storms over these countries that we're going to war with? You know, do something that way instead of dropping bombs. I don't know. I'm spitballing. But anyway, uh, and they're, you know, and the weather manipulation is being said by a few Congress people, and I think Biden tried to call them out on it. But that's what scientists do, and there's private companies out there that are doing this shit, not not just the government. The government may or may not know that it's going on. Bunch of lies. So anyway, this is Wolfgang. Have a great Thursday. Look into this stuff. I'm going to look into it more. Blessed be. Stay safe. And I will bullshit with you later. Bye.